observation of mission on key election and election day activities. The East African Community Election Observation Mission made the following observations. The 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, as amended, and other relevant laws provided the legal framework on which this year's general elections were conducted. The mission noted that Uganda's legal framework offers a robust foundation for the conduct of democratic elections in line with international and regional commitments that Uganda has ratified, including the East African Community Treaty. The political context was characterized by heightened competition, with 8 presidential candidates running for presidency, including the at presidential, parliamentary, and all municipal elections. This reflects rising public interest in governance, broadening political space, and voter choice. The mission further noted that there were several petitions arising out of the political party primaries and several unsuccessful aspirants opting to run as independent candidates. Although these provided voters a wider spectrum of candidates to choose from, it points to internal weaknesses in intra-party, including ineffective dispute resolution mechanism. The electoral environment has been largely peaceful and conducive for the conduct of elections. Electoral campaigns were mostly calm and peaceful. The mission noted that Uganda has a legal and a regulatory framework on political party financing, whose objective is to enhance fairness and integrity of the political parties. However, the mission noted that the law does not provide for campaign financing to cater for campaign expenditure so as to ensure a level playing field during electoral process. The mission commends the effort by the Electoral Commission regarding preparation and management of the 2026 general elections and the systematic stakeholders' engagement throughout the electoral process, including briefing international observers on the preparedness and the overall conduct of the elections. The Electoral Commission published a comprehensive roadmap as early as August 2023, covering electoral activities, including demarcation of electoral areas, updates and display of the voters' register, and the nomination of candidates. The mission notes that the National Voters Register had 21,681,491 registered voters, which reflects a laudable 70% increase from 18,103,603 in the 2021 general elections. The mission noted that 53% of the registered voters are female, which demonstrates commendable women participation in the country's electoral process. The mission noted some concerns raised with regard to the high number of candidates denominated by the Electoral Commission after previously being validly nominated, candidates declared unopposed, and appeals arising out of nominations and denominations process lodged before the courts a few days to the election day. There is need to streamline the procedures and timeline for these processes to minimize confusion and enhance credibility and public trust in the electoral process. The mission recognizes the active role played by civil society organizations in civic and voter education and election observation. The mission commends peace initiatives led by the Uganda Human Rights Commission and the Inter-Religious Council of Uganda, which culminated in the signing of a peace pledge towards peaceful, inclusive, and accountable electoral process. The mission noted that the law provides for equal coverage of candidates by state-owned media. Generally, media offered extensive coverage of the electoral process and were also essential in dissemination of voter information to encourage meaningful participation in the elections. The mission noted that although there was no female presidential candidate or disaggregated data on female candidates, youth, and persons with disability, political participation of women is promoted through district women representatives in Parliament. Inclusivity is further enhanced in Parliament through special interest groups elections, together with youth, workers, persons with disability, and UPDF. The mission noted that on 30th January 2026, the Uganda Communications Commission issued a directive suspending public internet access, which had a direct impact on the compilation and analysis of field reports from our observers. Regarding voting, counting, and tallying, on polling day, the mission observed the following. During opening, all polling stations visited opened late, with an average delay of 3 hours due to late delivery of election materials, malfunction of biometric voter verification kits, and delayed setup of polling stations. These delays caused frustrations for voters at some polling stations, with some deciding to leave. Despite these delays, the mission observed that the environment was generally calm and peaceful, with noticeable presence of party and candidate agents. All the polling stations observed were accessible to persons with disabilities, demonstrating efforts toward inclusivity. Assistance was provided to voters who needed it, including those with visual impairments, in line with the legal framework for election day procedures. All polling stations visited were in open areas, allowing for more transparency of the voting processes. However, some of the polling stations did not have shelter for polling officials, party agents, and voters. The observers noted that authorized stakeholders, such as party and candidate agents, had seamless access to the polling stations and performed their duties without difficulties. The presence of party agents and observers at polling stations demonstrated a vital principle of transparency in the electoral process. The presence of security personnel at all polling stations visited ensured peace and order. The conduct of security was observed to be professional, non-intrusive, and discreet. Identification of registered voters was conducted transparently and confirmed by party and candidate agents who had copies of the voters' registry at each polling station. Voting proceeded uninterrupted in all the polling stations visited throughout the day. The mission observed that most of the polling stations had queues with an average of 50 to 100 voters. An average of 5 polling officials were deployed in all polling stations visited. There was a commendable gender balance, with at least 50% women constituting the election personnel. The polling officials demonstrated professionalism and handled election duties with knowledge and understanding of the procedures, a reflection of adequate training by the Electoral Commission. Most polling stations closed an hour later than the prescribed time, 4 p.m., acting on the directive of Electoral Commission to compensate for the delays at opening. Voters still on the queue were allowed to vote. Counting was conducted transparently in the presence of party and candidate agents, observers, and voters who maintained the 20 meters radius as prescribed by law. There was a considerable number of invalid votes. At the polling stations observed, candidate agents received and signed the declaration of results forms, which were posted outside polling stations. Then we have some recommendations. The East African Observer Mission makes the following recommendations. Political parties and organizations should strengthen their processes and dispute resolution mechanism and procedures to address the high number of independent candidates arising from the primaries. Legal reforms should be introduced to provide for campaign financing with a view of enhancing transparency in campaign financing and ensuring a level playing field during electoral process. The Electoral Commission should endeavor to publish disaggregated data indicating the number of female and youth candidates in each election to inform public policy and advocacy. The Electoral Commission should enhance voter education to minimize the number of invalid votes in future elections. The Electoral Commission should provide shelter for polling officers, party and candidate agents, and voters at polling stations, and make use of school buildings or other public buildings not in use during the election period. There is a need to ensure that public access to information through ICT, such as internet services, are available and accessible to all persons during the electoral process. Measures should be put in place to balance security concerns with the benefits of public access to internet services. The Electoral Commission needs to minimize cases of denomination of candidates by enhancing mechanisms for verification of requirements before nomination. The Electoral Commission should investigate the causes of the manufacture of biometric voter verification kits and seek to ensure that this does not affect use of technology in future electoral processes. Conclusion. The East African Election Observer Mission congratulates the people of the Republic of Uganda for exercising their right to choose their leaders during the 2026 general elections. Considering that the electoral process is still ongoing, the East African Community Election Observer Mission urges all stakeholders to continue to uphold peace and refrain from any action that could undermine the integrity of the process. The mission further urges any actors dissatisfied with the outcomes of the process to address their grievances through peaceful and means established by law. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Eda, from the East African Community. And now we hear from the ICJLR Parliamentary Forum, and after that we will hear from the East Africa Standby Force. Thank you.
Your Excellency, former Republican President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, heads of mission, honorable members of Parliament, ambassadors and diplomats present, distinguished delegates, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. We're extremely honored to present the preliminary statement of the Forum of Parliaments of Member States of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region, which is based on the observations made by our electoral observation mission during the general elections in the Republic of Uganda, held on the 15th January 2026. Our sincere gratitude goes to the people and government of the Republic of Uganda for their warm hospitality accorded to us since our arrival. The deployment of the short-term election observer mission underscores our dedication to uphold the principles of Article 6 of the International Conference on the Great Lakes Region Pact on security, stability, and development in the Great Lakes region, with particular emphasis on the protocol on democracy and good governance. Furthermore, our observation mission is a response to the generosity invitation extended to the Forum by the government of the Republic of Uganda. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in person to foster a culture of democratic governance in the Great Lakes region, we deployed 21 observers from the member states of the Forum, namely the Republic of Kenya, the United Republic of Tanzania, the Republic of Zambia, and the General Secretariat headed by me, Moses Moyo, as the head of mission. Given that the Republic of Uganda is a member state of the Forum, we consider it significantly honored to be among the international observation groups accredited to observe the 2026 general elections. Ladies and gentlemen, let me summarize the electoral observation activities that we carried in run-up to the January 15th general elections, in accordance with our mandate as follows. In order to ascertain the state of preparation and preparedness towards the January 15th general elections, the Forum of Parliaments of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region conducted a pre-election analysis. Upon arrival in Kampala, the observers participated in a comprehensive briefing and orientation on the 9th January 2026 before being deployed in areas of responsibility. In order to increase public awareness about the presence and mandate of the mission, upon arrival, we officially issued arrival statement on the 9th of January 2026 at the regional training facility in Munyoyi. The mission met electoral stakeholders such as the Center for Policy Analysis, briefing by the Electoral Commission, members of the press, heads of mission of international observer groups, and members of the diplomatic corps accredited to the Republic of Uganda. The engagement meetings were aimed at understanding the state of preparation and preparedness towards holding the January 15 general elections. The observers were subsequently deployed in teams of 4 to observe the polling proceedings in Kampala Central, Kampala East, Kampala West, and Kampala North. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our pre-election analysis of the 2026 general elections in the Republic of Uganda reviewed the following. The Electoral Commission developed a roadmap for the 2026 general elections, which was implemented in a phased manner. The mission noted that the Commission carried out all planned activities under the roadmap as scheduled. In line with the international, regional, and national framework, the mission conducted civil and voter education in collaboration with key electoral stakeholders such as civil society and the media, among others, to ensure that all eligible citizens understand the purpose, procedure, and significance of the elections. The mission also noted that the Electoral Commission utilized the digital platforms such as X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, which are increasingly important in engaging with the youths. This intervention helped in providing real-time interaction and prompt response to inquiries. The mission commends the Electoral Commission for integration of physical identification features on the biometric voter verification kit in addition to the use of the thumbprint. The mission commends the Electoral Commission for the intention to place the notice only in polling stations where nominated candidates would have lawfully withdrawn from participating while appearing on the ballot box in order to give guidance to the would-be voters not to vote for particular candidates. The interaction with stakeholders revealed that the campaign period was generally calm and peaceful as compared to 2016 and 2021 general elections, which were attributed to adherence of campaign guidelines stipulated by the Electoral Commission and by all political parties. In this regard, the mission commends the Electoral Commission, security apparatus, the competing political parties, and all the citizens for their effort in maintaining peace. There were also concerns raised by increasing misinformation, disinformation, and use of hate speech on social media. The temporary suspension of public internet access and selected mobile services during the election period as a measure by government to mitigate spread of online misinformation, disinformation, and electoral fraud, as well as preventing incitement of electoral violence. Ladies and gentlemen, the mission would like to clearly state that in its finding on the 2020